Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Guys on Gaffr. My name is Joel and last time David couldn't join us, but David is back today and the three of us are all here. How are you guys doing on this Sunday evening?
Apart from the Newcastle Sheffield United game, which has cost me a lot of points in fantasy, apart from that, I'm good. Because I have got decent amount of returns in every fantasy game that I played this week. Get to watch decent amount of football. Finally, United won as well. Bruno scoring the goods. That's another win tick for the season after a horrendous 2 weeks. So yeah, all good. All good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm much in the camp, like, when you're doing well, you're like super excited, and when you're doing bad, you're just like, whatever. I'm like in that camp right now.
Yeah.
So especially in the Eliteserien with the one that people all captain got four goals, and I didn't captain him. So, but I'm like in that case, I'm like, But yeah, I've played lots of EAFC this weekend and having fun with that and building a Norwegian-ish team. And for people I've listened for a while, I have Sinkernagel as one of my stars in the team. Of course
he does.
So that was always going to happen.
I am not surprised.
But yeah, other than that, I'm good.
Cool.
How about you, Joe?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Nice for Everton to get off the mark yesterday. Finally, good performances translating into a win. I really wasn't sure we were going to win yesterday, so it was a really nice one for us to get off the mark. It's all happening in fantasy this week. I've got Budget Buster going on in Super League. I feel like the Newcastle game has just been crazy. As someone, I bought Botman, but I could have also got Trippier. I considered getting both Trippier and Botman, but just got Botman. Yes, it's been a pretty packed weekend of football. There's been a lot happening, but anyway, yeah, I'm doing all right. Had a nice chilled weekend, being able to follow it all quite a lot this weekend. So yeah, as mentioned, it's Sunday evening, so the Coventry game hasn't happened yet. That's obviously tomorrow night, but the rest of the game week has happened. So we are going to show you the points that we're on so far this week. Ranks, I think, have updated since the screenshots have been taken. So if you've got your ranks, feel free to read them out, but it might not match what you see on the screen. I can't remember what order I went. I think it was a completely random order this week. Oh, I'm up first. Okay, right. 60 points for me so far. It's been an okay week. I'm on a rank of 453, I believe, which is a small red arrow of about 30-40 places. But I've still got Godden vice captain to come. That was my transfer, Armstrong to Godden. Even though Armstrong scored, I don't mind it. He only got 7 points, didn't get any bonus. So hopefully Godden can deliver next week. Dewsbury Hall captain with a standard 4 bonus, no return 7-pointer. Vice captain Godden, emergency Clark, who I brought in not this game week but last game week, which absolutely saved what could have been an absolute stinker. So Broadhead 10, Piro 9 are the other highlights. Sarah got his first return in a while, but still just a 6-pointer because this time he didn't get any bonus. Key with the clean sheet was nice as well in defence. So yeah, it's been an okay week, kind of not much to say. Hopefully Gordon can maybe give me a chance of a green arrow. I'm sort of struggling to make much progress past kind of the 400 overall rank mark at the moment, but I do have 2 boosts left to play, so I'm just hoping I can be top 200 at the very worst come game week 15 once all the boosts have been done. We'll see how it goes. It's still the gaps are quite tight. It's only about 40 points up till 100, so we'll see. So yeah, that's me. Next is David.
Okay. Yeah, I think the ranks are updated, but like it's going okay. I'm very consistent this couple of last weeks. I'm like hovering around the 60-point mark every week, like 64, 62, 61. I went a bit down the last 3 game weeks. I was at the best I've had this season was 37th, and now I'm down in 81. So, but that could still change with Godden vice captain. So. Not over yet. But yeah, my highlight this week was definitely Whittaker with a 20-pointer I didn't see coming, but it did. That was very good. if without that, it would be a very bad game week, I guess. So yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah,
But
it's
apart from
huge.
that,
It's huge for you.
yeah, that's what did he even do? He must have gotten like lots of goals since it's. He
Got a
got.
hat-trick,
Did he
mate.
get a hat-trick?
Got a hat-trick.
Really? Oh wow! I was like wondering how I got so many points. That can't be all bonus.
10 bonus
But yeah,
points.
yeah, it's standard 15 bonus points. Yeah, but yeah, happy with that. And yeah, I think that's it.
Nice.
Go Godden.
Yes, we'll see how he does. Abhishek.
Yeah, so 55 minus 4 got me a red arrow, but because I'm not moving, I'm stuck somehow because I play a boost, I move 300 places. I now have 2 red arrows back to back and 2 big ones. I mean, not starting the players that I have owned. The managers have really zeroed in on my confidence because last week, I mean, on game week 7, I have 6 bench players out of the 11. Now I have 2 bench players already in my 11, and though, and it really hurts my rank towards because if you look at my score, I have 10 points. Dewsbury Holmes was my vice, so that 7 point round up to 10. Clark was my captain. I last time I checked, he was on for 4 performance bonus, but he got
Gone
dropped
down.
1 point. I don't know why, but so 5 points doubled up to 10 points. That's disappointing. Sarah got an assist on that horror show yesterday, so 6 points. Broadhead and Piro got me a goal piece, so 10 points. My differential player was Stanisfield, although I mean, I don't know how Birmingham could not score against QPR. Ricky Dembele is also back, so they were creating a lot of chances, but I think the QPR defense was better on the night. So Stanisfield, although I'm happy with Stanisfield because I want to target those Birmingham fixtures coming up. So that's a nice way to go, and it helps me to do the swift move that I was really eager to do after because he was on the points for the past 6 weeks, 7 weeks, but uh, manager Carlos decided to bench him, and it was disappointing because both him and Wallace were benched. I mean, West Brom's 2 best players were benched, and it was showing on their play as well because they weren't able to create that many chances as of when Swift and Wallace were there in the place. Also, Preston got a half clean sheet. I mean, sh- I mean, the manager could have substituted Mumba a bit early before those 2 goals happened. He subbed him off after those 2 goals in 2 minutes. I mean, come on. Otherwise, it was a nice, decent one. Ranking Castello is another one doubtful player in my team.
He's a problem.
He's really fallen out. Yeah, he's really
It's
fallen
out
out
of
of
favour.
favor. Yeah, so there are some few fires that have to be settled on my team, but yeah, it's a decent team. I am not too worried about the red arrows because I have 2 boosts to play. So yeah, I mean I'm on 720th, so I'm not too much worried about it. I just need to get these 2 boosts that I have left to work on my favor, and I will be on the cusp of reaching top 100 by game week 15, which was our target at the start of the season. So,
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
see.
that's me.
Cool. All right, so I think the biggest topic that we're going to talk about today is rotation, because obviously this was our first midweek round of fixtures this season. It's quite rare that it's this late. Normally there's one in that first batch before the first international break, but we've obviously got used to a lot of settled sides, and then a lot of that kind of got ripped up to shreds in midweek when we saw a lot of the deep sheets, and suddenly we've had the first 3-game week and lots of players have got benched. So I guess we'll talk about the players that were kind of most affected, and let's, I guess, start with Plymouth, because they were one of the most notable things in that they just made wholesale changes. I don't know how many it was in total, but Hardy was benched, Whitaker was benched, Mumba was benched.
Mumba
The
was
front three was
benched. Yes,
Wayne
Finn
and two
Azaz was
rights.
benched.
Yeah, Zaz was benched. I mean, Kessler Hayden is the only. When I look at that team, Kessler Hayden and Hazard are like the only two players that I see a lot. I don't know about the centre backs, but in terms of like the midfield and the attack, they benched everyone.
It looks like they are in the European competition when they are.
Yeah.
It's like the League Cup.
Like the rest of players
no.
for the next game week. Like, what do I do?
I thought they were playing the cup game, EFL Cup game. I said, what is a championship game? How many changes do you need?
Yeah, and it's not like you have a like big team that you can get like quality players from the benches. This is like bottom of the barrel stuff, and then you lose 4-1. So like, what are you thinking?
Well, this makes things really tricky because Plymouth assets are great. I mean, Hardy has been tracking at over 0.7 sort of XGI per game, which is huge. He's looking like one of the best cheap strikers. Whittaker's just banged in a hat trick. Mumba's obviously not a bad pick either. And suddenly it's like, are they no-goes or are they good enough picks that you just have to take the odd benching on the chin?
I mean, it depends on the fixture, really. I mean, if you have a plum fixture and they get benched, then it doesn't help because what this does is that you don't know when they're gonna get benched. I mean, if this happens on a relatively after 7-8 games on the stretch, then I can get that. But they get I think they did not play on the EFL game as well, the cup game that was, I mean, before the international break. So they were not getting any consistently run of games, week in, week out. So they are playing after a week. So I can't see why so much wholesale changes were to happen this midweek. I really can't see the point in it because Plymouth scored 6 goals against Norwich. You get to see the full strength of that side. You have to have the full points in the first half of the season because in the later half of the season you're gonna drop points. Injury is gonna happen. So you are not playing your best 11 just so you are going to play Norwich on the after 3 days. That's not a good enough reason for that.
Could it be like to avoid injuries in the game before Norwich so they were prepared? I guess if you turn it around and say use the same life philosophy as like the late season.
It's really hard to tell. I mean, is there a sense of
it has to be something like it's not random. It's some like tactical decision they made.
Is it? I mean, this is pure speculation here, but is this a kind of a way of thinking that we don't see very often, where it's like, I'm going to sacrifice this game for the greater good of the upcoming games, and yeah, maybe we lose this one, but with fresher players, we're going to get more points on the board in the coming games. Like, it could be.
It's a bit weird though, because if you rest all the players that are good in the game that you should win and lose, and then you have a harder game that you rested playing for, you could lose that too.
Yeah.
So you like drop 2 games.
Well, that's very true. David, I have a question for you, because obviously you own Whittaker. How does this make you feel about owning Whittaker moving forward? And given that, I mean, we've got after game week 9, game week 10 is a midweek game week. There's like midweeks coming up sort of every 3 or 4 game weeks now for a good while. So what do you think about Whittaker as a pick? Is he someone you're thinking you might have to sell or not?
Not right now. Like I don't feel like selling a guy that just got a hat trick. Even though he can get benched, I guess. But we are talking about it like it's going to be a thing. We don't know if this was just a one-off midweek and it was something in the background we don't know about, but it could be. So
on that, David, sorry to interrupt, but apparently, according to just a comment in the group chat, this happened in League One last year as well. So it's not just a one-time thing. So if that information is correct, then maybe we should. I think we have to assume that it's going to happen again, which is an important point, I think.
Did Whittaker have a complete rest when he didn't play in midweek, or did he come on?
I think he came on, but yeah.
But yeah, if you look on the whole, say 5 game weeks time ahead now, and he gets benched two of them, but gets goals in the 3 that he plays, I'm not too fussed. It doesn't matter to me how he plays as long as he gets the points total. And it's worse that you sell him in like anticipating a benching in midweek, and then the next weekend he gets a brace again, and then you like question your decisions and probably get him in back. So yeah, I've done too much of that in other fantasy games, like knee-jerk decision on like little information, and I feel like this is too little to make like a good decision. But it's definitely a worry, I guess. And it depends on who you are not having Whittaker. For example, me, I don't have any Ipswich strikers, which is a weakness in my team. But if Whittaker gets more points or equal, then I'm okay. But yeah.
Last thing on Plymouth then is the quite considerable contrast between their home and away form as well, which must be considered, I guess, for you, David, as well, in terms of whether you bench or play Whittaker. Obviously, 8 game weeks in, 4 home, 4 away. Plymouth have won 3 out of their 4 home games, scoring a lot of goals in that time. They've scored 13 goals in 4 games at home. Away from home, they have just a single point, and that is it. They've lost the other 3, and obviously a 4-1 defeat to Bristol City was a bit of a thrashing, and the other defeats were 2-1 to Birmingham and Preston. So it's their home form that's going to keep them in the division this season, it looks like, and the home form where they are really banging the goals in. So something to bear in mind with your Plymouth assets, I think. Defensively,
like
they're not great.
Two of the next 3 are at home.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think for me, they might get the odd goal. Defensive assets don't start when they are not away. Maybe you could start against Hull because that's going to be an interesting game because Hull is also attacking like Plymouth. So that's going to be an interesting game. Maybe start your defensive assets, not the goalkeeper, but Mumbai certainly can start against Hull. But I think the away games that they had in the next few weeks after the 2 home games are really tough because they have West Brom away, Ipswich away, Leeds away. So yeah, I think you could stick with Hardy or Whittaker, but not defensive assets in my opinion, because Plymouth can get the odd goal, and 9 out of 10 times it's gonna be either Hardy or Whittaker for the goals. So yeah, I think you don't have to drop him. Certainly, if you own defensive assets, the likes of Mumba, Hazard, or if anyone, then certainly you could bench for the away games and start them for the home games.
Yeah,
but you could get away with Hardy and Whittaker because I think they are the top 2 goal score. They are the top 2 point scorers in the forwards in this division as of now.
Who would have thought that?
So they are in a red hot form. So why not capitalize on it now? Because they're not going to be that many. Lots of other guys that are not playing well now will get into form. Then Plymouth will. I don't think Plymouth will have that good of run of goal scoring form in the next few weeks. So yeah, why not capitalize now and let's see what we have.
Yeah. Let's move on from Plymouth and I guess talk a bit more about other aspects of rotation that we've seen. There's a couple of examples that I can think of. First is Dewsbury Hall got benched against Norwich, which surprised me considering how big a game it was, but they did alright without him. Obviously, he came on and created the second goal, though. The other one that I can think of is Ipswich. They benched Broadhead, and Hutchinson came in. So that's another one. And then obviously Manning at the weekend got benched yesterday against Middlesbrough. So any concerns out of these? What do you think about Broadhead, for example? I think I personally am fine with him. I do think he's still nailed. But I've seen talk of Hutchinson being a real threat to his position.
Yeah, I think to me it feels like Ipswich gonna rotate quite a bit among that forward spot, especially the likes of Broadhead, Hurst, Chaplin. He's gonna rotate with Hutchinson coming in and having a good day in the office in terms of performance. So I think they are going to rotate quite a bit, I guess. But I still feel like Broadhead should be safe in terms of minutes, even though you may get the odd benching, but I think he will be safe in terms of minutes. Uh, the next player that you brought up, Manning, I think if you own him, sell him now because Southampton doesn't look good at all defensively. If you own Armstrong, I would hold him. But that's it, I think, because Southampton is not doing well defensively. So it's time, I think, to sell those assets.
So
And
my opinion is the
hold
opposite to
on,
yours.
yeah, hold on, let me finish. So I think it's time to sell him because uh, Southampton don't look good defensively, and they haven't been yet to play as a team. They haven't gelled yet. They have, I mean, the manager has started different players in different positions. They have changed the system, but still it hasn't worked for them. I think so. That's what for Manning and for Dewsbury Hall. I think he's the main guy in terms of because he hardly gets rotated. I mean, you have seen rotation with Inacho and Vardy, you have and McAteer and all those attacking players. But Dewsbury Hall is the one only constant that starts apart from wings. So I think these Dewsbury Hall and Broadhead are on the same have the same opinion. I have the same opinion on both those guys because I think you will get the odd benching here and there, but those two guys will start more or less. But Manning, you gotta sell Manning now. What are you doing still owning him?
Here's the thing. Obviously, we talked about selling Manning in the last pod, I think, didn't we? And we said we should do it. But when it came down to it, I was looking at replacements because I had to replace Leif Davis with his injury. Obviously, he's back fit now. I was like, who on earth do you bring in for him? Like, there's no one stand out at all. And it's only if you really need the money that it's like almost worth a transfer to me. And I have Rankin Costello. He's now a more important sell than Manning, and I want to do so. I'll do Rankin Costello to Leif Davis, and then what? I guess it's finding someone who's got good fixtures. I mean, maybe Leeds, because obviously Leeds have started. I think they've kept 3 clean sheets in a row now, Leeds. So possibly we could look at a Luke Ayling, although he got rotated. I think he didn't start at the weekend. So that could be it. Maybe an Ampadu or something is the replacement. It's just finding that player that's actually going to do a little bit more. Because like there's so many players that just aren't great defenders, that aren't great for bonus or attacking returns. I'm struggling to find a player that's like really good for either of those two things, apart from Leif Davis. And it's the lack of replacements, good replacements, that's making me think Manning's an okay hold. I guess if we think they're going to continue not keeping any sorts of clean sheets, maybe that's the counter argument to it. David,
how has Pereira done the last couple of weeks? Because he's like the one that people are probably going for in the same price bracket.
Again, nothing really from an attacking standpoint, but maybe the clean
that was
sheets.
That was like what we expected from him before the season. I remember that he was like going to be basically him and Manning were going to be like the always getting assists and stuff, but it hasn't really worked out that way.
Yeah. I think I will eventually sell Manning. It's just at what point I do that, because it's like Rankin Costello is a more important thing to do, and then I've also got midfield dynamos to prepare for. So I think I'm going to hold him for a few more weeks and just see what happens. Armstrong, by the way, go on.
No, I think in terms of ranking, selling who first, whether Rankin Costello or Manning, I think Rankin Costello is because he looks like out of favor. But if you want to sell Manning now, 3 teams I can suggest you. If you look at those defensive numbers, I am not naming names because I haven't really checked them out. But in terms of fixtures, you could look at Watford and West Brom because they have a nice run of fixtures, and Preston as well. So if you want replacement for Manning, you could look no further than these two heavyweights along with Preston. Preston maybe not so much because they have a mixed bag, but certainly Watford and West Brom. I mean, they face a relatively easier opponents now. So if you want to have a differential player now for Manning and save those money, I mean, you could look for no. I mean, the likes of Furlong. You can look at likes of. I mean, Watford is playing Andrews at right back. He's a cheap defender as well. If we're looking for defenders, West Brom has a couple of. I said Furlong. They have another one. I think Ajay. So you could look at these three for Manning replacements because certainly in terms of fixtures, these are plum fixtures for Watford and West Brom to do well. Whether they do well or not, that's a different question.
Yeah.
But you certainly can keep an eye on. Certainly, if not this week, maybe next week for Manning, and keep an eye on these teams. Now go on with Armstrong.
Cool. Is there anyone else that I've not mentioned that could be a rotation issue? I'm trying to remember from midweek. That's actually significant Gaffr wise. Patino for Swansea. I don't think he played in midweek.
Yeah, I don't think Patino is a rotation race.
Somerville was an interesting one. I was so jammy. I sold Nonto, kept Somerville, and then on comes Somerville for 7 points. A 4 bonus return after 20 minutes for Nonto's injury. Jammy, really jammy. But that was another rotation thing. But I think if Nonto's injured, Somerville should be fairly safe. But Jaden Anthony's right there as well. So
Yeah, that's what I said. I think in our group chats that Anthony can become a decent option and can rotate with Somerville. But I think non-to injury tells you that a Rooter is going to start. So there's two forwards for Leeds now. If you're looking for two forwards going a bit differential and not betting on the midfield options, then you can go for two forward options, or Rooter and Hero. So yeah, uh, I think I have seen another one. Preston's. I think Mads. He looks like he's out of favor now. Whoever owns him, that honeymoon period is over. And good news is that Brady is back.
Oh.
So a few things to keep an eye from Preston.
That's your new transfer next week then. He's like your golden boy.
He is, but I'm not. I'm going to hold him a bit because their fixtures don't look good, especially in the next two of the three out of the next three. So they face West Brom, Leicester, and Ipswich. Leicester, Ipswich both away. West Brom at home. I'm certainly not bringing Brady for these 3 games. After that, we will see how Preston looks like. But they are the top of the table, so
not anymore.
Taking nothing away from them. Who are they?
Leicester, because they only drew with Rotherham yesterday, so they got knocked off the top. Only 1 point behind, but yeah. Leicester first, Ipswich second, Preston third. Yeah. Hull fourth.
Yeah.
Hull have slipped under our radar, you know.
I think they have drawn a lot of matches. I think out of the 8 matches, I think they have drawn how many? 5?
3.
I wonder how our table predictions are doing right now.
It's early days, but I think I've undersold it. I underestimated Ipswich. I underestimated Preston big time. I underestimated Hull. I overestimated Sheffield Wednesday. They've been useless. I said they'd survive, whereas you guys didn't. Yeah.
I think. Speaking of rotation, Huddersfield can become a decent team because they have a new manager now.
That doesn't automatically make them good, mate.
I mean, not good, but they certainly can be options.
I think I saw that there was one post. There was a post I saw on Twitter that said they had like a list of which players that had played all minutes in the league so far. I can't remember. I think Huddersfield was one of the teams that had most players that had played lots of the minutes, but that doesn't make them good.
No,
I'm not saying good, but they can be decent options because we have seen Darren Moore coached in the Championship before. I mean, yeah.
Does he have anything to work with though? It's not going to be a transfer window for some months still.
No. But you can keep an eye on him because they can be a dark horse now. Certainly.
not for me. I think
I
they'll
mean, the
struggle.
first game Darren Moore is going against, is going to be managing for Huddersfield is against Sheffield Wednesday, I think.
That's tasty, actually.
And
That is
that
quite
too,
tasty.
yeah.
Yeah,
Game week 11,
yeah.
and that too at Sheffield Wednesday. So that's going to be a fiery game.
While on the Huddersfield topic, I just noticed when we were having a break here that if you, I was like name my team after a player last season that was Max Power because he had such an awesome name. But if you want a player for just a name, you can get the forward for that's called Bergzorg with a Z.
Bergzorg.
So that sounds like a Toy Story 3 villain or something. But yeah. He's not looking great, but he has a funny name. Yeah, so that was
Cool.
it.
All right. Well, we're going to talk mids now, midfielders, because midfield spots are interesting at the minute. There's some players that are kind of looking really good, like Clark, obviously. But there's I feel like lots of assets that are not in our teams that could be good options. I think David has thought along those same lines as well. I don't know if you want to start off, David, but I mean, I'm looking at midfield dynamos probably in the next game week. So I'm in the market for a midfielder. Who are the sort of players you've been looking at, David, as potentially good options that we don't have in our teams?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about these players not because I know lots about them, but because I see them scoring and people don't have them, and like people speaking of them and say, oh, they are so good players, but no one is buying them still. So the players that would be on that list would be for me Jamal Lowe and Wallace and Swift. Those are those three that I've been like seeing, and maybe Patino as well, but those three first ones in particular.
Okay, thoughts on Wallace and Swift? I mean, they're so expensive. I mean, I can't get up there from row anyway, but even if I could, Swift is. I'm torn on Swift. I think he's a minutes issue. When he starts to get subbed off early and he's not nailed, and Wallace has not done it. I looked at his underlying data; it's awful in terms of XG and stuff. So I'm not interested. But Patino is of interest.
Are the numbers like Mavididi bad or just bad?
Mavididi a couple of weeks ago bad before he started doing quite well. His underlying data's got a bit better now.
I'm so
size.
irritated by that, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting for Mavididi. I think the reason why he's done well the last couple of games is because they've been playing more open teams and he's more of a counter-attacking sort of player who's a lot more dangerous in those situations. And then he's gone, we've gone straight into a game against a slightly lesser team in Bristol City and he's blanked, So I think
I think Joel hit the nail on the head. He's a more of counter-attacking player. So if Leicester doesn't play a team that's going to attack them, maybe is not a good option.
He's like a reverse fixtures, guys. Like buy him for the hard fixtures, sell him for the easy fixtures.
That's really hard for me to spend 9 million on such a type of player.
Buy a bad player for a bad game for 9 million. See what happens.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Leicester has bulk of the possession. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't.
Leicester
simply doesn't do anything.
Been so much better against the more open teams, and they've actually struggled a bit against low block teams.
Yeah.
So if they start to do better against the bad teams, they can run the league.
I think one thing can be said is that if we are looking at the midfielders, say Swift, and then you can't play with 7 million Manning and 6.5 million Ricardo. You have to downgrade to some defenders, and that's the key here, to find decent budget defenders. I mean, max to max 5.5 million you can move, because if that 1.5 million helps enough to spend that on your midfield players, because you're gonna get players. Somehow you're gonna sell someday you're gonna sell Sarah, someday you're gonna sell many different 7 million, 8 million players. Then you can easily move towards it, but that money should be available. You can get that money form by selling those high-priced defenders,
Or you can
especially.
have cheaper strikers, like many people have now. Pirro, Whittaker, all those guys. I have
Yeah.
like 3 million in the bank somehow, and I feel like I have an expensive team, but that's probably because I sold Armstrong because it was so.
You have
like
3
10
million. I have 4.6 million. So
Yeah,
I have 4.6 million, and
this is
still
not
I
a
have.
competition, man.
Why I'm saying I have
Wow.
4.6 million because I own Swift, so I have spent 10 million. I own Swift. I don't own Armstrong. I own Piro. That's 20 million of my budget. And still, I get to have 4.6 million in the bank. Maybe
How much do you
because
have, Joel?
Let me check. A fair bit, I
Just-
think, because I just sold Armstrong. I've got, bear with, 3.8.
I lose.
Do I lose?
That's
Have I
nice.
got the least? Or have I got more than you, David?
I have
Yeah.
3.
Oh, you lose, David, in
Oh
this
no.
made-up competition.
So,
Oh, dang.
yeah, I think I mean those are good options. I mean certainly Charlie Patino seems to be a decent pick because Swansea. I mean everything looks like going through him. He takes the corners as well. Don't know about the free kick situation there, but certainly he takes the corners and he looks like a decent player on the ball as well. And certainly, I think Jamal Lowe playing up top certainly will help because he knows how to score goals. Also, will help Yates as well. But I don't think Yates has started to certainly fall out of favor
Yeah, it's
because he's
interesting
starting.
that.
Yeah, he's starting generally up top, and I don't know much about him. I know he only play for Hearts,
I know nothing about
but
him as well. So.
yeah, I don't know nothing about him because I've seen in England that much. But yeah, he's starting. Seems to start. Has lost his place for generally. He's starting quite a few games. I think 3 to 4 games on the bounce. He has started, and yet due to injury, I think Yates came on last week. This week, so there's something to think about these situations moving forward because there are a lot of things. Also, I think apart from when we're talking midfielders, I think we can certainly look at other midfield players from certain other teams. Let me look at. Hold on, let me.
There's a few different players that we could sort of think about. I mean, Scott Twine's doing okay for Hull from an underlying data point of
Yes.
view. Who else? Sykes has got decent underlying data from what I've seen as well.
Yeah.
In terms of the cheaper ones.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking
Siriki
to sell.
Dembele is back.
Yeah, yeah.
Siriki Dembele is back, so Birmingham has a nice run of fixtures as well. I think uh, we, I think it's time that we look at Cardiff midfielders as well because they are really getting those wins, and the midfielders are scoring goals, not Ugbo. So I think the likes of Ramsey, Wintle can be decent options.
And they've got
Actually,
Rotherham
one
at home
thing-
next. Go on, David.
Yeah. One thing. I remember we had a podcast some time ago that was talked about like the bonus for the different sections, and now we're talking about mids. How have those like players that we highlighted last time done over the last couple of weeks?
I'd have to refresh all the data.
Okay,
Don't know.
but are there have we like seen some of them doing what we thought they would do? You think?
I'm trying to remember who we mentioned. Can you remember some of the names we mentioned last time? I think it was people like Sarah and Dewsbury Hall who have like carried on with getting bonus, but the returns haven't necessarily been there. In terms of like all the key passes and stuff, not really translating to returns.
So they have fit into the bonus model, but just that and nothing else.
Broadhead has continued to do well. He was looking good for bonus at the time. I think
I think Whittaker was also high up on the list, and that was why I got him because we talked about the bonus things, and he has done amazing. So
Yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
how many points since you got Whitaker has gotten you? While Joe finds.
he
Joe
has
fetches
gotten
goals.
me. When did I get him again?
I think
Let's
he
see.
scored 5 goals for you since you got him.
That could be right. I'll just go back to the game week. I don't have him, and that was a long time ago. What? Hang
Yeah.
on. got him back in game week 5 actually. Let's see. So in game week 5 he got
4
6 points.
4 games.
Game week 6 he got 2, nothing. 7. In game week 7 he got 1 again. And then this week he got 20. So
yeah, I think that's 4 goals. So yeah, I'm right. So yeah, 4 goals. That's nice.
yeah, very good.
Let's move on a bit more. Sarah and Rowe are interesting to me at the moment because obviously Norwich. And people will be surprised when I say Sarah, but I have been thinking that the returns aren't there at the moment. The bonus is still there, aside from the weekend, obviously, when you concede 6 goals, obviously you're not going to be in the bonus because of all the returns.
That's more play, I guess.
So Sarah, I mean, he's not it's very much a luxury transfer, but I've been thinking he's been playing quite a bit deeper than I thought he would be, deeper than I'd like. So he's fine for his key passes, but the returns are just not looking very likely at the moment. And then Rowe, he hasn't really been putting up the underlying numbers, and he's a minute's risk. He got hooked at half time against Leicester. I think Rowe is not a sell if you've played midfield dynamos already. But as someone who's playing midfield dynamos, I don't think I want to midfield dynamos with him in it, and therefore I am going to sell. Yeah. What do you guys think about Sarah and Rowe at the moment?
I think what's crucial is that once Sargent got out due to injury, it really is. I mean, that train that they were riding on, that performance train, it got derailed badly. I mean, Sargent was key to those attacking maneuvers, attacking movements so critically that Norwich fans were not thinking about Barnes. Now, Barnes has aged quite a bit. He is not that leading the line kind of guy. And the backup strikers that they have, like Adam Ida, the Korean guy that they signed, they are not to the level of Sargent. So they're really missing Sargent. And that's the reason I think Sarah has to sit deep and create all those things from the midfield. Because otherwise, if Sarah goes to the attack, then I think Sarah has those defensive capabilities. Then Norwich look light at the back because Sargent can track back as well. Which also helped Rowe to move forward and stay forward. He is not that good defensively, and that has shown quite a bit in the past few weeks. So I think injury has really harmed them quite a bit. But I think they would be okay. I think they have few players returning. The likes of Onel Fernandez. Onel Hernandez has got returned, I think. So I think there is also a few guys. Adam Forshaw. I mean, Farke was not Farke. Wagner was really going on about Adam Forshaw. So I think Norwich should be good. But in terms of returns that we were seeing at the especially in the first 5 matches, certainly they has dried up. But having said that, I still think Sarah Rowe is a sell because I don't know what has happened. That burst has overed. I think it's time that we move on. We have gained 3 million on him.
He's only a sell if you've got 3 midfield dynamos because he's so cheap. You just stick him you just stick him on the bench every week at the moment.
Yeah, I'm definitely keeping. Yeah. There's no way I'm selling him. He's not a transfer priority for me.
Yeah.
What I was wondering though was we talked about like Adam Ida and stuff, but say that the delivery for him gets better the coming weeks. Do you think he could do well for himself, but also help Sarah and Rowe if they start to gel, even if he's not as good as Sargent was? They still are a decent enough team. Do you think he can? Is it so many levels worse than Sargent that makes Norwich as a whole a bad fantasy team to target?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, he's got himself a brace at the weekend as well. I mean, one of them was a pen. Yeah. I think I guess it depends. I need to have a look at his numbers in terms of his finishing, and I've not watched enough of him to know if he's a good finisher. If he's like a particularly bad finisher, then you've got the issue of lots of unconverted chances from the likes of Sara. But I don't get that impression of him from not watching him loads. My impression of him is he's at least a decent enough striker. It's just without that focal point of Barnes to play off, maybe they are just a bit weaker as an attacking side. I mean, obviously they weren't very good against Leicester. I didn't think in attack.
Yeah,
They were pretty
I think
toothless.
if you own if Barnes comes back, then he's the guy for Norwich to score the goals. I don't think Ida has. I mean, Ida started really well, but I don't think he is in that sort of level to score week in, week out. I mean, maybe a sub appearance. He is a sub appearance kind of guy. He doesn't. I don't think he's leading the team kind of guy. So it will hamper their chances quite a bit, and you get to see Sara getting defensive quite a bit, and his points might dried up. So I think that's one of the reason I think Joe is bringing up the fact that it's time to sell Sara, but it really depends on what the fixtures now and what are your replacements now. I'm certainly not selling Sara for the likes of Mavididi or for the likes of other players that we mentioned throughout the podcast.
It's a luxury move, isn't
But
it?
yeah,
luxury.
I mean, if anyone who doesn't own Jack Clark, then I'm certainly doing Sara out to Jack Clark in. That's one of the moves that I'm doing. That's not going to be a luxury move for certain. But
Yeah,
for
maybe.
other players, I think that's going to be a luxury move. So might hold him for just say 2 to 3 weeks and then assess on the second international break what you're going to do. about
If
it.
people still have Fastnacht, do you recommend selling him?
Either
selling him?
sell. Either
Yeah.
sell.
Because we do we still have him in the pod team? I think we do. We started
Yeah,
this
we
one.
need to. So.
Yeah, and he's starting to get us angry a bit.
He's done okay for us though. He's ticked along with the odd return.
Yeah, but it's Onel Hernandez is back, and
Yeah.
I don't think he will get as many minutes now with Hernandez back because Hernandez is preferred more
Yeah, for
in
sure.
that position. So
Mm.
I think if you own Fastnat, he is a sell.
Okay, so on to questions now. We've got 4 questions. The first one has come from FPL Glasto, and it says, bit of old news, but I still have Manning. Same, mate. Who's the best defender to replace him with? Price is no object, but bonus points for leaving me money as well. Also should probably think about using chips. You mean boosts? Any good points in general? Hard to say without seeing my team. He says, yeah. Obviously, it's hard without seeing your team. Let's address the Manning question first. Who would you pick?
If Jed Spence was not injured, I would pick him. That's a shame. That was my plan.
I'd pick Ailing or Ampadu. I'm going to assume he doesn't have a
Isn't
least defender.
Ampadu a bit injured? I think I saw that.
Maybe.
Or he was back. I think that was a tweet that someone sent. I think he's not like super fit at the moment.
Let me check if he played. He
Yeah,
played at
Paul,
the weekend.
what
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to give you names. I'm going to give you teams. As I said previously on the podcast, I think you can look at Watford, you can look at West Brom, you can certainly look at Leeds. These are 3 teams currently you will look at to replace Manning.
Cool. Chips, boosts. They're boosts.
It's boost.
It's so difficult without seeing his team. I mean, game week 11 is kind of been identified by many people as a good week to play a boost. With fixtures like Southampton, Rotherham, although Southampton are flattered to deceive at the moment. Leicester, Stoke are in a mess at the minute. Ipswich, Preston, Leeds, Bristol City. I mean, some of the fixtures that we were looking at before, some of the opponents are looking a bit better. Maybe we need to start looking at weeks where Ipswich play. good fixtures, because that maybe brings up game week 12 and 14 as options. So in game week 12 they have Rotherham, in game week 14 they have Plymouth. That's more from a triple perspective though, because obviously we're looking at Chaplin, and I'm part of the bus because of Leif Davis. Whereas for midfield dynamos, maybe you're not particularly looking at Ipswich. So yeah, I mean, my part of the bus could easily be game week 14 at home to Plymouth.
Yeah, I think as we discussed game week 11 and 14 before, when we're talking about boost, I think game week 10 is another week that has suddenly cropped into my mind to play a boost, because as you mentioned, Ipswich play Hull at home, Leeds play QPR at home, Leicester play Preston at home. Who else? Birmingham play Huddersfield at home. Plymouth play Millwall at home. Millwall are not. I mean, they are good defensively. It will be a tough game, but they play Plymouth at home. West Brom play West Sheffield Wednesday at home. Stoke play Southampton at home. Even though both these clubs are going through a difficult phase, but I think Southampton going up to Stoke will be a difficult game, and Stoke will be up for it, I guess, to beat them at home.
Stoke have been dreadful recently, mate.
Yeah, they have been dreadful, but I guess I think it's a penultimate game before the second international break. So might work well in favor of them, but yeah, those are the fixtures you can target. And Sunderland have Watford at home. That's gonna be a good. I am not. It's gonna be a decent game for both attacking sides, especially for Watford or Sunderland. That's gonna be an open game. But yeah, these are the game week 10 can be another week. I'm more and more going away from game week 11 and now focusing more and more on game week 10. So yeah, 10, 11, 14 are the 3 weeks. To play a
Also,
boost.
yeah, I looked at my team now, and I have only like Park the Bus as a good cheap boost. Still,
We're all at it.
Still, and I looked at which players I have now. Like Coventry play Rotherham, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday face each other. Southampton play Preston, West Brom play QPR. I mean, there's some good ones there as well, but it depends what boost you're looking at. There's it right.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, okay.
It's hard to say, but I think we have answered the question.
I hope that's a few pointers at least for your team there. And yeah, hope they go well. Rambo Muna? The text is really small on my screen. Sorry if I've got that last word wrong. But anyway, he's put his team screenshot in, and he wants to know whether to start Hazard at home to Sunderland or Mumba away to Hull. I mean, that's two bad goalkeepers in terms of fixtures this week for two quite poor, like a defensive team that's poor away.
That's Vasquez in goal, not Mumba in goal.
I meant Hazard. Sorry, I meant Hazard. Sorry. Yeah, I would start Hazard away to Hull, but neither are good. Any advances on that, guys?
Yeah, I would sell a goalkeeper.
Nah.
I would sell a goalkeeper. Yeah,
No.
a goalkeeper transfer is required here, mate. You can't move on with these two goalkeepers.
When is ever a goalkeeper transfer required if it's not like for a boost or something?
Very rarely, but this might be one of those
Here
occasions.
it is. Here is one of those.
If you had
occasions.
like Ladke or even the Yang, like if that was one of them, but you still have the two worst in the league.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this is like the one instance in like 1,000 that is actually a good idea.
Yeah. Sheffield Wednesday, just no.
But is this like the rest of the team okay?
Yeah, the rest of the team's good.
Yeah,
I mean, the other question he's got is from the defence, who should he start? Except like he hasn't shown us who's on his subs bench. 1 second, or maybe he hasn't. It's just been cropped out. He's got Hughes at home to West Brom, Pereira away to Blackburn, and Mumba away to Hull on the field at the moment. And then the other two are
Wolfenden and Pring.
Wolfenden and Pring.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd start Wolfenden ahead of
Yeah,
Hughes,
I
maybe.
think-
No, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. This is tricky.
I mean, what I would do is I would start Wolfenden, maybe start Wolfenden, maybe keep Hughes because they are at home. Maybe sell Mumba because they are away, and start Hardy.
You can only put. He can't start Hardy in
Well,
place of
yeah,
number.
three defenders. Yeah, I mean, that midfield. I mean, he can easily start Hardy in place of Mavididi right there, but he's capturing Mavididi. That's bold.
It's tricky
But
that
yeah, I
he's.
think
I would
That's
start
vibes.
Pring.
I
You
would
know,
bench.
Like it.
I would start Pring because Bristol City have been good defensively and Stoke are not in a good way. So okay. If I was to
Yeah,
pick three right now, I think. Let me have a think about this for a second. Okay, Ipswich haven't been as good defensively as I think. I'm looking at Huddersfield. I think it's an easier fixture than West Brom at home, but Preston are much better defensively. So I'm going to say Hughes, Pereira, Pring. That's my three.
yes, that should be.
Pick
Yeah,
three. Pick three. Abhishek now. No explanation. Just pick three.
pick three: Hughes, Pereira, and Wolfenden. I have
David?
trust on which.
I can't even see the team, but I'll just agree with you. I can just say I like the Mavididi captain thing. That's like the most vibes thing I've heard all week.
Blackburn away could be a good Mavididi fixture. You know.
Are they good?
No, Blackburn are not good. They are quite open.
So then he will blank then.
Yeah, but they're quite an open team. I think they'll be
Yeah.
quite open at home. So
Yeah.
that's my theory. Rob Pick's question. How did I overhaul at a rank of 1k and get a red arrow? Disclaimer, it probably won't be a red arrow at the end of the game week, but then the question would be moot. We'll pick better players, mate. Yeah, that's not good, I guess. I don't know whether it's without seeing your team, it's hard to know whether it's just rotten luck. It's probably rotten luck, to be honest, knowing you're a good manager.
Then I did so little points.
He's a very capable Gaffr manager, so it's probably just rotten luck.
Or the people that are stuck in the thousands are very good, but just stuck with all the good people there. I don't know. That's probably not the thing, but
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you can get the red arrow in certain like places in the ranks, and even if you're in good like even top 100, then you can get a green arrow.
It's like
It's super weird.
a popular game week 1 pick is banned for the first time in about 15 game weeks, and everyone in all the dead teams have got him captain.
Yeah, like all the zombie teams like just leapfrog you because you've got players that are popular and they have like players that are template.
Yeah. Just remember the old cliche, Rob. An overhaul is not just for the first week. The amount of times I wildcard an FPL and get a red arrow in the first week and then actually do quite well in the following weeks, more often than not, that's actually what happens to me. So,
Yeah.
okay, Sesko. Last question. When to use his last chip? He has played triple and midfield dynamos. So, if I were you, I would play park the bus. I would look at your defenders. Think which ones do I want to keep? When have they got good fixtures? And then work from there. And if there's any need to sell, look for the ones with best fixtures. We've already given some pointers on good defenders with good fixtures in this pod. And I've said Game Week 14 is a good one for Ipswich, potentially. But, yeah. Any other thoughts?
No, I think you have basically covered it all.
Yeah. There's also been discussion about home advantage 10-11 in the community. If you happen to fall into it, it's fine. But don't plan for it. Just if you happen to fall into 11, it has to be 11. It's not worth it otherwise. Fall into 11 home games, play it. It's alright. Cool. That's it. So let's do our teams. Abhishek, any early plans for Game Week 9?
No, not that I can think of because I might have to take a gamble on now because 2 of my defenders out of 5 are not playing. Began is not in. I think he got transferred, so that bot is at the moment is wasted. So need to have a look at it and ranking Castello. So maybe the transfer will happen in that position as well, because I pretty much settled on my attack and midfield with the 7 that I have. So yeah, I think the transfer may happen in defense, but maybe I might roll because I'm not benching the Silva or Davies or Mumba this week. Maybe we get a defender, then I bench Mumba for him, but it's still I'm not sure who to get now because Davies is fit, so I might hold it off. In terms of midfield, it's quite a settled. In terms of forward, it's also settled. I may look forward to bringing in a Birmingham defender, but depending on I am waiting for Lear to get fit because I think he will come straight back in, even though Dramea is playing very well. But I think Laird will come back straight in. But I think he had slightly niggle issues which keeping him out. So I'm waiting for him to come back so that I can use my Birmingham second spot on him. But we'll wait and see what happens. In terms of captaincies, it's on Clark. It will stay on Clark because they have a Sheffield with Sunderland's place Sheffield Wednesday, so it's a plum fixture for them. The vice captain is on Leeds player Pirro, and my emergency is Broadhead as of now. So yeah, that's me
Cool.
for next week. Yeah.
All right, my team next. I'm about 80% sure I'm going to play midfield dynamos. I have the money to sell row for anyone up to the value of 8.6. Players in my thoughts are Dan James, because Southampton are rubbish. Maybe Aaron Ramsey at home to Rotherham, Twine at home to Plymouth. Those are some of the main names in my thinking at the moment. Sykes at home to Stoke, probably not Sykes though. So that will probably happen, but I'm not sure. A hit to take out Rankin Costello for Leif Davis is also a possibility because at the moment I have to start Manning or Kakai or Rankin Costello, and they're all rubbish. So that is also a possibility. So yeah. And then captaincy won't match if I play midfield dynamos. So I'll assume I won't say who I'd captain otherwise because I don't know because it's hard, and I'll only think about across that bridge when it comes to it. If I decide for whatever reason not to play midfield dynamos, the one reservation I have with midfield dynamos at the moment is I'll only have 2 home fixtures max, and that could be a problem. But yeah, that's the only real reservation at the moment because the fixtures are there. I think Dewsbury Hall will do well against Blackburn. I think Clark will do well against Wednesday. Southampton are rubbish. Somerville should do all right. So yeah, that's me. David.
Well, this is interesting because when you mentioned the game week 10 home advantage thing, I just checked with my team and just went to see if it was working with my team, and I'm 2 transfers away from having 11 on home advantage in game week 10. So that's a real possibility all of a sudden, and I kind of like it because the fixtures are very good. I just need to get rid of Ashby and Manning, and then I'm ready, basically. Or I can sell Rowe, I guess, and bench Sarah.
Interesting.
So that's very very nice. I can also get like the players that have good games, maybe Birmingham against Huddersfield, get a Dembele or something. Yeah. Oh, actually, I like that. I might do that actually. So, yeah, that's my plan from like 5 minutes ago now.
You've got me looking at home advantage now. I really don't want to be in a position where I can play it because I just don't like the boost. But I'm like, yeah, I'm maybe a couple of transfers away as well.
Yeah, you'd like falls perfectly into my hands. I don't even have to take a hit if my players don't get injured. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I'll probably do that now. Yeah, other than that, my team probably just get rid of defender then. Probably Ashby because I have money for it. And he's not playing. I can't believe I went him over Key. He was like so hyped at the start.
He was very hyped.
think he was like in the background, but he's done much better. In the screenshot, you see that no, I have no captaincy on Clark, but that's obviously an error. He should at least be vice captain in my team, maybe captain. So at the moment in the team that's correct, I have Dewsbury Hall as captain and Clark as vice captain.
Cool.
So yeah.
All right, we'll see how it goes. That is everything then. Anything to add from you guys before we finish?
No, I think we have covered all this. Oh, yeah, I think one thing we can say is that whoever listens to us in Spotify, please subscribe there as a follower, because we are getting 100 plus listeners every day, but our subscribe count is stuck at 65 only. So whoever listens to us in Spotify, please hit that follow button, so that it really helps us to move forward as well. So, yeah.
Like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Thank you, everyone. Anything from you, David?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, I guess.
Yes. Brilliant. All right.
That's
Yeah,
good.
thank you everyone for watching this episode, and yeah, all the best in the upcoming game weeks. Obviously we've got the Saturday game, the next weekend's games, and then it's another midweek round after that. So yeah, another 3 game weeks coming up once we get through the League Cup fixtures. When we record next, not sure. We will obviously put out a post for questions and stuff when we do. But yeah, we will probably be back, if not next week, definitely the week after, I would have thought. And yeah, in that case, hope you all have a good week, everyone. And yeah, we'll see you next time. So it's goodbye from me.
Bra.
Namaste from me.